Give me an email about the tennis court.
Yeah. So the tennis court is on that 2033. If the fix, the chief not say it's just, it's, but the other thing is, if it's something that you're really not going to do.
That's what nobody has shown. I know, nobody's come to us and say, but also, you know, it's pickleball's been the thing.
The other thing is,
Then diagram of our knowledge.
depends on, I just think your figure out the procedure. We don't actually, it doesn't actually see saving money.
Oh,
But sort of like, it's not something that was cross off, so, but the funding source is.
I guess that's fair.
Picture it's still listed there, it still has the one shot, what was yesterday. When it might be, because but they didn't ask you to save any money for it because
That's why I
it's
did
still
the
going
best.
to be more.
Right. No, see, no. I don't know.
No hablo
Okay.
inglés.
I'm just waiting for Karen to get back to work so we can sit down and talk
Yeah.
about it.
No
So-
hablo inglés.
You're not pre-eating the Halloween candy, are you?
What?
She's pre-eating her Halloween candy, anticipating nobody will come.
Nobody ever comes to my house. No one ever comes to my house.
Quality
We have
control.
cameras in our neighborhood.
Well, oh, she,
Quality control.
All the neighbor
Make sure it's
kids
good.
pile into a van and they go around and, my neighborhood,
Mm.
they're done.
My little brother lives in sort of mid-central Maine, and they have a couple of big hay rides and take like 100 kids and do the neighborhoods. It's a success.
Okay, it is 7 p.m. in the great town of Lee on Tuesday, October 29th. I'm going to call the select board meeting to order. If you have public comment, please step up to the microphone. State your name and address. Please limit comments to 3 minutes and address them to the board. Any takers this evening? Okay, in that case, Chief.
I have what is hopefully the last pay in lieu of vacation request. Sergeant Libby is going to be maxing out and will actually lose time by the end of the month. Everybody else has been managing to take their time, so it's not an issue. He just, for personal reasons or whatever, work schedule just hasn't been able to take it. So that's what the request is for. He has, as Andy brought up to me, he did receive it in April, when we were at this point where a lot of us were maxing out. But he's at that point again. This will carry him through the end of the year, and we'll be in better shape and he can start using his time.
Okay,
I was going to mention what Tom mentioned, but Tom mentioned it, so.
okay, any questions? I have no problem with that. I just hope that maybe he gets to take a little time off.
Well, he's taking time off right now,
Okay.
but he also had
Sure.
16 hours of personal time that he used before the end of the year, so he wasn't able to use up his vacation time.
so do you think that's gonna change soon?
Yeah, I do. He was out the first of the year for paternity leave, so he was feeling guilty on taking any more
No.
time off. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, hey, you're maxing out and you're gonna start losing.
Yeah, we'd like him to take that time off and hang out with his baby.
Right.
Would it,
All right.
would it be more beneficial, this is more of a town administrative question, if we said we extend the limit, because right now his limit is December 31st. If we extended that for 6 months, that gave him time to use the vacation?
It doesn't make any difference administratively, really, to me. Your standard policy has been you granted once a year. Because it was a deviation from the standard policy. I felt obligated to bring it up.
I'm just thinking, the whole point of vacation is to give him time off from doing his duty. And if we pay him, that doesn't give him any extra time off to do his duty. So if we extended it 6 months, that would give him time to utilize that particular leave.
Hopefully it would, yes. I mean, we're not gonna have any additional staffing until December, and then by the time we get to the field training, it's gonna be after the first of the year, so I don't know, 6
Well,
months probably.
I would propose that his deadline for this particular session, instead of December 31st, 2024, it's June 30th, 2025.
I counter your proposal with, we should ask him what he'd prefer.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
If you had an option to do it, would he choose that?
Okay.
I'm just saying, that's another way to do it.
Yep.
So,
He'll come back. And Officer Libby will decide.
Yeah.
yeah, so if you can get back to us on the, before the 12th,
Yeah.
that's when we meet again.
And you, I don't know that you need to come back and ask again. We can either sign it or
Okay.
extend it,
I
whatever.
think I'll
you-
probably be here for the 12th anyway.
Okay, well,
Oh,
just give me
okay.
the option.
I thought you were going to come and talk to us about,
As I say, he just said, I'll be here on the 12th anyway.
oh, I thought.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, does that work for you?
Yeah, that
Okay.
works. Perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you. Andy?
Yeah, I had several items. The first of which was, we had talked about Tom's retirement and when we might start the search for a new police chief. Don't know what the board's thoughts are. I have a draft job description. Tom has not resigned yet, so I'm not sure exactly where the board wants to go with that, but it will probably take some time to find a police chief, if we are in a position where we need to find a police chief.
Okay. Do we want to table that until the 12th?
Yeah,
That
I
would
think
be
we can
that'd be
certainly do
better.
that.
Okay.
The next item is the Girl Scout Daisy Troop, 65860. This is a new meeting room request from a new Girl Scout group here in Lee. And they are asking for permission to use the town hall, that being the town hall next to the library, for their troop meetings. We've checked the schedule, checked with other folks, and there's no particular problem, but that does require select board approval for a new group to work their way into the calendar for the building.
Okay. Questions?
So this is a new group for Lee?
It
It's
is.
already one.
Right, but
There is.
this is the Daisy, so these are kindergartners.
They're younger.
Oh, okay. So they're not brownies anymore?
Well, this is,
The daisies are before the brownies.
Oh, my
The brownies are
goodness.
before the Girl Scouts, is my recollection.
yeah, so the Daisies are the kindergarten aged troop. So this would be the new troop of the current children who are in
And
kindergarten.
they're looking to meet from 5:30 to 6:30 on Monday or Friday evenings, and I believe, was it Friday, the preferred date to this?
I think it was
I think it was Monday if it's in the town,
Okay,
Old Town Hall.
Monday, forget what I said.
Either way, you can just move them around.
And Tricia Allen is the responsible adult
Yep.
that's submitting the application form.
Fine with me.
I have no concerns, questions? No? Okay, do you need a motion or just? A motion to approve the Girl Scout troop's request to use the old town hall.
Or the public safety complex.
Or the public safety complex, whichever would be the preference and availability via the calendar.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Okay, next, I have some miscellaneous paperwork that got sent to Steve and I for the Granite State Clean Fleets program. We've been approved for the grant, but we have to authorize acceptance of the grant, or not acceptance of the grant, but moving forward with the grant. And we also have to authorize a signatory for the grant. Steve Bullock's name was on the original paperwork, and they prepared the official form with Steve Bullock's name. But I have to get you to make a motion and vote to sign a certificate of vote of authorization before they will move forward with getting us our money for our new dump trucks.
Okay, so it's this very long paragraph is the required.
This
That
is
covers
the
everything?
actual template language that
Okay.
I was supplied with.
Okay. I move that the Lee Select Board vote to grant Lee the authority to enter into the New Hampshire Volkswagen Environmental Mitigation Trust Granite State Clean Fleets Grant Agreement with the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Air Resources Division, which is a reimbursement project only, and further vote that Steve N. Bullock, Lee Department of Public Works Director, is duly authorized to enter into said agreement on behalf of the town of Lee, New Hampshire, and is further authorized to execute any documents which may, in their judgment, be desirable or necessary to effect the purpose of this vote.
Second.
Questions?
Aye.
Any questions, discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Alright,
There's,
now you see me to sign this.
single signature, so the chair can sign it.
Okay. Mister, you may borrow your blood pen, so I don't have to dig around for my blood pen. Alright. Thank you very much.
And under miscellaneous, Mr. Bullock spoke with Mr. Bugby and myself. There's an auction, an online auction going on in Manchester right now. There are 2 bucket trucks that are up for auction, both of which are desirable to the DPW department here in Lee. There's a 2008 Ford F550 with a 37-foot lift and bucket on it. There is a very similar sized and similar yeared Dodge with a slightly shorter lift and bucket on it. Steve would like authorization to bid up to $15,000 to procure one of these trucks for general building maintenance, use in the parks, minor tree stuff that could easily be accomplished without hiring a tree service if we had our own bucket truck, that type of thing, hanging of banners.
Okay. Where does he want to take the money from?
Well, we've looked at 2 sources. He feels he has enough money to accomplish the $15,000 in his budget. We also have some ARPA money left that could be used for this or used for a portion of it. But he can't wait until the 12th to ask your permission, so we wanted to ask if the board was in general agreement that.
Do you have the specs and pictures and et cetera?
I have pictures of the 2008. There were not a lot of specs. They invite potential bidders to come on site and inspect. They had a picture of the Dodge up that Steve and I looked at, and then about a half an hour later it disappeared.
Looks like a truck.
Yeah.
So
I assume that Mr. Bullock is happy with it, then these specs are acceptable.
he and Peter were going to look at the truck today, I believe.
Yeah, they don't tell you too much about it. So he's going to visit before he bids on it, correct?
Yes, he is. Okay. And he was taking Peter so he could give it a mechanical look over.
Yep.
As well as
Because right now he has to borrow it. He's borrowed.
He has borrowed it from the racetrack when we've needed a bucket truck. And they've been gracious.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions?
No, maybe we can authorize him to bid up to $15,000 and then depending on what the amount is, determine where we're gonna take it from.
Yeah.
Because I think any of those particular options are possibilities.
So I move to authorize Stephen Bullock to bid up to $15,000 on a bucket truck.
Second.
Discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All right. Consent agenda. The, I don't have
So,
no stickies.
Have it here. There's no files, but there are a number of stickies.
Mr. Andy, may I borrow a pen from you? Sorry, I only have red pens. I'm in degrading mode, so I've got nothing. I assume they won't be signing it in red pen. Or I have red pen about 20 expo markers. Thank you.
I would just make a small change on the Ag Commission appointment. It's going to be an alternate appointment. So it does say that on that.
It does say that. Oh, I see. In bold letters underneath. You've already signed this one, so look at that.
I get
There's
top billing.
actually, Rebecca, there's paper clips. I didn't have enough of these.
Oh, I apologize.
There's more.
No, but wait, there's
My
more.
gift to Rebecca.
Okay.
And that's,
And now this one. And Denise, let's see, that one I'm doing.
Here's a gift for you.
I don't need a pen anymore. I think we've got them all. You go, baby. I know, well, I do too, so. I'm ill-prepared teacher here.
Thank you.
None of my reading utensils are the right ones. All right, anything else, Mr. Andy?
I have nothing else.
Okay, then we'd like to turn the meeting over to the chair of the Advisory Budget Committee.
Great, welcome. I'm happy to be here tonight after missing last time.
Denise, do you need Colby to move the microphone? That's okay, I just know she doesn't have it and she can't do the minutes and then she gets all flustered.
I have to do minutes now?
Oh, no,
me.
Denise does it, but
Okay.
you're not in the microphone, she can't hear you and then she can't
I'm
do
like,
the
wait a
minutes.
minute.
No, you're not in charge that minute.
Okay. All right, good evening. Tonight we have a presentation from Andy Robertson for the administrative budget for the town.
Yeah, if you can give me just a second for the camera to come to full life here. This presentation going. Is good.
Maybe I'll see a printed copy of the budget.
I've got- This is just the town administrator portions of the budget you have this evening. The budget is 99% complete. I'm just waiting to review some numbers with Karen for planning and zoning before I send you the complete finalized budget. And I'm anticipating being able to meet with Karen on Friday or Monday, so we will move forward from there. I'm just going to run through this by section. Stop me and ask me any questions. I'll answer them if I can, or get you the information as soon as I'm able, if I can. And I've replaced the picture of Denise that I had last year with the town seal. She didn't think I should use her again. But the first section is the general government executive. This is the town administrator, the assistant, the select board, primarily salaries, as you can see. There's a little bit of money for supplies in there. Starting with the town administrator salary, I put a 3% increase on that salary. Depending on what is COLA, I would take that off or leave it, depending on what the board decides. For the assistant, I again used 3%. I would ask the board to leave that regardless of COLA. It's been a couple of years since I've had a merit increase for the assistant, and the board was clear in the middle of this past year that if you were going to make salary adjustments, they preferred to see them in the fall at budget time and not otherwise. So I've plugged that in there. We've increased the town report line a little bit. Paper has not gotten any cheaper, printing costs. Other than that, it's fairly straightforward section of the budget. I don't know if there are questions or additional information requests people would like.
Is Denise hourly?
Pardon?
Is Denise hourly?
Denise is hourly, yes.
I was wondering about the overtime.
The non-exempt employees in the budget are myself, the police chief, fire chief, and Mr. Bullock. The financial administration budget is up next. Salary, software, and IT are the big ticket items in this section of the budget. Didn't change a tremendous amount. There's an increase in postage, so we added a little money there. Actually, I think we added money overall to the budget for postage, but then it's broken out between departments, so my numbers went down a little bit. This also includes the MTS Finance Contracted Services. That is the contractor that we have in office on the financial side of the building, as well as their software, which is our primary platform now, which is a cloud-based financial services platform.
Is the MTS in here as MRI?
MTS is a division of MRI.
Okay, so make sure I
yes.
was looking at the right line, thank you.
And I divide them up because MTS is the side of MRI that handles finance and financial software, and MRI uses the MRI brand for the assessing services that we contract for as well.
Which is not in this part of the budget though.
No, a little
Okay.
further down.
All right,
This also includes our Back Bay contract, which is our overall IT contract for all IT across all departments in the town,
Except for the library, who has their own.
except for the library, who has their own. That is correct. Running through this, the finance officer is presently, and these lines, as you can see, I've got what we actually spent for the year that closed this past June 30th. I've got the fiscal year 25 budget, which is what we're in right now. That's what's budgeted, not what we've expended so far. And then the department head requests are the department fiscal year 26. So there's the finance officer. I have 58,000 in there. That was in there last year as well. I have not increased that salary to 58,000, but there's a potential to do so. So
Like you, but this is the fiscal year 25 budget request, or budget is 56. So is it actually 58?
oh, no, you're correct. It was
Okay.
56,222.
Okay. Now, is that merit or just anticipation of COLA or?
That would be merit.
Okay.
And shouldn't say this on camera, it would be merit, and I'm also keenly aware that bookkeepers and financial people in municipalities are in high demand right now.
Can we change that line item, because she's not the finance officer?
We can. I can't just change the line because we lose the history, and DRA does not want me to lose the history of prior lines for, I believe it's 3 years elapsed. What I have to do is add an additional line with bookkeeper as opposed to finance officer.
Okay. Because it just implies it says finance officer salary, she's not salaried.
Right.
So,
Yep. There were 4 or 5 lines that I have earmarked to change after the Municipal Association Conference, which is tomorrow. We're going to be handling hopefully all of them on the 7th.
okay, thanks.
And I'm also, not to do with my budget, but I'm also going to try to clean up the police and fire budgets because of officers that were paid specifically in the past in both those budgets. There are 4 or 5 lines that have not been funded for 3 or 4 years. Sergeants and lieutenants and things like that can be cleaned up.
Okay, thanks.
Got overtime in there. We have not had to use overtime, but in the event we did, wanted to have something there. Treasurer salary, the ABC salary, MRI contracted services, I am decreasing. We have cut way back on the contracted service hours that we're using. Unfortunately, in '24, I went way over on that line, attempting to bring the budget into compliance. We got there. It cost me considerably more than I expected, but this year we're in a very good place, and they're actually using Brenda once to 2 times a month
Oh, great.
to work with Taylor. So.
So are you anticipating not expending all of that from fiscal year 25?
I didn't bring the budget to actual with me, but I believe that we are going to come in under that, yes.
Oh, great.
Equipment M&R took out, we haven't used that, very small charge. Legal notices and advertising, we were over last year, so we increased that a little bit. The advertising rates have gone up.
I think you skipped over audit.
Professional audit, yes, and we are under contract. That's going up a little bit each year, and that's why I increased it to 17. I am sincerely hoping we are going to be over this year because we ended up doing 2 or 3 additional audits with the changes in the town clerk tax collector's office. When that position changes, we have to do an audit, and we ended up doing an audit for Linda, an audit for Liz, and an audit for Georgia with the changes made. So hopefully we won't go through that again. Legal notices and advertising, as I mentioned, we kicked that up a little bit. Printing, we think we're in a good place. Dues and subscriptions, we are going to be right at 5173 or whatever that is for this present year budget, so I left it at the 52. Training, we're a little over. That was a couple of courses that the bookkeeper went to. I think is worth keeping in there. I knocked mileage down for whatever reason. We are not racking up the mileage that we did. And that mileage is typically driving to the bank or occasionally to Concord, that type of thing. Conference and travel, I left the conference in there. There is it's the NHFG, I forget the OA, I forget the exact acronym, but I think it's worthwhile to send the bookkeeper to that. It's a 2-day event in Concord. And she also gets some continuing education for attending that. Postage, because of the way postage is allocated between the departments, we put one lump in and then break it out. That was calculated in messy fashion last year, and I am comfortable cutting that in half and leaving it at 3,000. We're actually going to spend about 3,000 this year on postage. So,
can I ask, how did we go from actually spending 600 and change to then budgeting 10x the following year?
because we budgeted for numerous departments and then break it out, the postage machine and mailing center is in the administrator's office. And, I'm not sure exactly how it got convoluted, but we did not break it out accordingly. One year we did the next.
So the 6,000 and the 3,000 are overall for all postage, but the 632.65 is just for the postage for you?
Just for finance, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So from now on, though, all postage is coming through the same line?
Yes, and we actually have a new postage meter from Quadient that we have modified the accounts and charges and how they work on the new machine.
So everybody else's postage budget should be 0?
No, because we break, at the end of the year, we break the postage back out to the departments that actually used it, so you can see how it was used.
But shouldn't the request be 0 if we're requesting it all through one thing? I'm just asking, logically.
We're not requesting it.
Let me,
So the
what I can
3,000
do
is
is,
just the request for the finance?
Mhm. We pay for the rental, which is new. We had to get a new postage machine.
it includes the lease on the postage machine, which was Pitney Bowes and is now at Quadient Formax.
Okay, so in fiscal year *24, there was no lease on the machine, or it was a very low lease?
Mhm.
Now we've been
Because that
very high
machine
lease.
was 20
Yeah.
years old, we were past the full lease, but.
Oh, okay, so so the 6,000 and now the 3,000 will be the lease plus the finance office's
Plus the finance
postage
office's
fees.
postage.
Okay,
And we had gotten a preliminary quote a year in advance on the postage machine for last year's budget that was much higher than we actually ended up working out. And I think the assistant town administrator handles most of the postage transfer, but I think the new machine is working out considerably easier than Pitney Bowes ever did, so. Office supplies are just standard office supplies, everything from paper clips to pens, paper. Kitchen supplies, we have a kitchen in the town offices. It's used by the employees, it's used by other groups that meet there. Just a small amount to keep it supplied with primarily dishwashing soap and other similar things. New equipment. This is sort of a catch-all for things we need. Fax machine breaks, something that's not under a lease warranty goes, that type of thing. We'd had it fairly high. I knocked it down considerably this year because we haven't spent what's been budgeted for the last 3 or 4 years. Computer software, these are add-ons, upgrades that we have made primarily through Back Bay. Any of the software upgrades we make or additions we make, we typically run through Steve Gagnon first, have him vet them. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the cell phones, our rate actually went down because our phones are older. We're under a government contract. It's a federal contract, and the rate has gone down considerably. And we have not broken or lost any phones, had to purchase any new phones, so
How
we
many phones
downgraded
does-
that budget line.
How many phones does that cover, Andy?
Ooh, that covers 8 phones, I believe. Everybody in the DPW has a phone, all the department heads have a town phone.
But they all have their own line items for those, so what does this one cover?
This covers myself, Denise, and that's it.
Okay.
But all of the lines have come down. They're all the phones are on one standard contract. And the total contract, as I've said, is DPW, all the department heads, Denise as an assistant, and Jeff Laporto as an assistant has a phone too. And the reason that we had switched to having town phones was there was some legal difficulty 4 or 5 years ago where people had exchanges and information on their personal phones. And it's far easier when you're challenged for your communications if you have a town phone that you use for town business. Computer software, as I mentioned, this is for add-ons or upgrades throughout the year, things we run into that we weren't anticipating as part of the overall umbrella. This year, one of those upgrades that you're going to see, I'm in the process, and I need to meet with Karen when she gets back to complete this, but we're in the process of upgrading how you view the tax maps and your tax cards on the Avatar software. It'll be a bird's eye view map that you can zoom in and zoom out on and see the names of the parcel owners, as well as just click on the parcel and get your tax card. We've looked at this for 2 or 3 years under Cartographic Associates. Cartographic Associates has a very similar program that runs from $3,500 to $5,000. This is the first year that Avatar has offered a similar option for less than half of that. So we decided to move forward with it. Computer services, this is our Back Bay contract. We have our MRI contract in there too, some of it.
Under, computer services.
Yep.
And cable.
Yep. And then software support services. And again, I probably shouldn't say this on camera, but for whatever reason, we have had a contract with Back Bay for a long time that has not changed. And I have taken a look around elsewhere. The numbers are considerably higher elsewhere. The copier fax lease agreements, right now this accounts for our copier. This is the large primary copier that we use at the town offices. It's heavily used by the town clerk's office as well, and other departments are tied into that. If the other departments, for the most part, have smaller printers that can also copy, but are tied into this if they need to use it. We have a new one. The one that we retired, we could no longer get parts for and service, and I believe it was about 20 years old, had certainly served its useful life. Maintenance and repair, just a little bit there, so if we've got something along these lines. Most recently, we need to keep a fax for some state government functions and for veterinary offices, which only send rabies certificates by fax. I'm not sure why, but that's heavy use. We had 1989 fax that gave up the ghost, and I had to replace it. So that's an example of what we've used that for.
Your super duper copier, that should do faxes too.
We do not have the fax module in it.
Oh, okay.
It was, and luckily I was able to find an exact replica of the very old fax we had in unopened condition on eBay, and we spent $40. We've got some training expense here as well. We spent a little bit of it last year, but I think it's important to have money available when training is available.
You have 2 training line items.
We do. And the first one was specific to the bookkeeper. Double check and see what we spent the $55 on. It was different last year.
This particular budget is finance administration plus IT. That's the last, what is it, nine codes, really IT.
Computer hardware, I have reviewed the inventory that we have with Back Bay. At this point, we only have one computer that is up for replacement in terms of the years allotted on the inventory. It's running just fine and serving its purpose now, but we typically have a breakdown or something that needs to be replaced that is off of that inventory schedule. The one that's up for potential replacement is the code enforcement officer's desktop computer.
Did MTech do that inventory for you, or did you guys do it yourself?
I do it with Steve Gagnon, who is our sole supplier of, they're our vendor for hardware.
Okay, thanks.
I can certainly give that inventory list to MTech to take a look at.
I think that's one of the things we asked them to take on, but, okay, thanks.
And that is the financial administration budget. And moving along, I've got the MRI assessing contract. This is a contracted cost that we use. We have one of their field people in our office at least one day a week. They also do our assessing paperwork that's required by DRA and in conjunction with the tax collector's office. That contract is up next year. We will most likely be going out to bid, although I will say that the bid prospects in New Hampshire right now are rather grim. When I talked about it this year, one of the premier vendors told me that they probably wouldn't be interested in bidding because they weren't going to bid anywhere near what MRI was charging us. Another outfit made it clear to me that they were short on staff and long on clientele and were not interested in taking on any more towns and would not be interested in giving me a bid. So I'm hoping that we get some bids, but we will have to go out to bid this year. Coming up for fiscal year 26, it's not included in this budget, it's a capital reserve fund, but fiscal year 2026 will be a reval year for us too. That's the time in the 5-year cycle when that will come up. So we'll be going out to bid for that as well and bringing the bids back to the select board.
Can you also put in your tickler that when that occurs, we also need to look at the exemptions at the same time so you don't get caught like we did the last time?
Yep. A legal expense, we closed the year this past year with fairly light legal expenses. I left the line at $15,000. It's a complete crapshoot, whether you're going to spend next to nothing or whether you're going to spend $50,000. $15,000 seemed to work pretty well over the last 3 or 4 years. And we have no known issues on the horizon right now.
Don't say that.
There's half a potential issue, but I don't think it's going to cost us very much. Personnel administration. This is the biggest chunk of the budget. Health insurance and retirement are the bulk of this section, more than half. This includes the insurance services that we have through New Hampshire Health Trust and Primex. New Hampshire Health Trust is our health insurance, dental insurance, unemployment insurance, short-term, long-term disability. Primex is our property and casualty, property and liability coverages. Retirement as administered by the New Hampshire retirement system, and payroll expenses, the ancillary costs, Social Security, Medicare are a big piece of this budget as well.
I see there's no increase of that. You'll change that when there's a COLA or something added, so I assume this is not accurate.
I have not, I just put the salaries in the department heads gave me. So, looking at this, personnel bonus, nothing there, I left $1 in there, so if for some reason the board wanted to do something, we could move money into that line. I know at some times in the past, you have wanted to, like the $3,000 that's there was a bonus award to some police officers when Tom was having difficulty and people were overworked, that type of thing. So we leave a budget, $1 in there so you could transfer money into that line if you wanted to. Payment in lieu of vacation, looked at past years and made an estimate of what we might need to expend. Health insurance. We've seen another, last year, unfortunately, we saw a big increase of about 14%. Last year was the old model that Health Source was using, Health Trust was using. That was where they would give me an estimate of what our insurance premium might be in October or November, and then revisit it in May and give me the actual number. The actual number came back very high for fiscal year '25. I am going to be right at that 591,000 figure. This year, the increase that we received 2 weeks ago is guaranteed. Even though we're a fiscal year town, they've decided that they will guarantee the fiscal year town, I suspect in large part due to the hue and cry after last year's big jump that fiscal year towns were not anticipating. 9% though, budgeted at what I've got for people on the plan here, and the next slide will show you that, would put us at $625,761. And that's not necessarily 9% on top of that 591, it's 9% of what I've got our monthly actual bill right now, and have increased those rates by 9%. We are down a position or two. I know we're going to be adding a full-time person in the police force, which will deviate that a little bit as well. FSA expenses, that's a maintenance cost, administrative cost that our FSA program is administered through the Health Trust. Health insurance buyout, we always have a number of employees that opt for the health insurance buyout, and I've got those numbers on the next slide for you as well. Take a guess at estimating what the worst case scenario could be. Dental insurance, we saw a 4% increase there. I've adjusted the Social Security and Medicare lines to match what department heads have submitted for wage requests in this budget. When we get down to retirement, Group 1 are your non-police and non-fire employees. The town contribution for non-fire and non-police, that's Group 1 employees, is 12.75% into retirement. I believe employees match, they don't match it, they pay 7%. Yeah. Dropping down to Group 2 police, for the police department, because we don't pay Social Security on police and fire, the town's contribution to their retirement is much greater. The police comes in at 30.95% per pay period, and the fire department is 29.15%. That's actually decreased a little from last year. There's a long-range projection of what those percentages are. There's $1 in the line for the state grants for police department overtime that sometimes are awarded to the town, and we need a line to put them and expend the money. Unemployment this is a cost that's handled through Primex for us. It's basically unemployment insurance in this line. Workers' comp insurance has increased based on increased payroll and increased salary. Also fluctuates up and down based on the loss ratio affiliated with our claims. They do an audit at the end of each year, determine whether you had a good year or a bad year based on the number of claims you've had and what was paid, and can either raise your rate or lower it. We've been in a pretty good position for the last 5 years or so. Fire accident and health insurance, this is through Green Associates. This is a specialty policy that covers firefighters. It's a combination of life and disability. Personnel administration background checks. When and if we hire you as an employee in Lee, we do a state police background check, and there is a charge for that. Special awards and flowers. This has been anything from plaques for the volunteer of the year to flowers for notable folks who have passed away to just anything in that sort of catch-all category. And food and meetings, same thing. This could be used for community meetings, awards ceremonies, that type of thing.
Couple of questions.
Yes.
Under personnel, social security, and MC, those numbers are the same as last year. That's highly unusual.
I will double check that, and
Especially for salaries went up. So,
yeah.
so please
I would
check
suspect that that is my fat fingers that did not update that.
Okay. Well, if your fat fingers can go back and check that particular thing out.
Let me see if I've changed it on the updated one.
It's one.
It's not gonna be accurate anyways until COLAs and anything else has been decided, so
But I would think it
it's a fine baseline.
gone up, yeah.
Yeah. No, I will rehash that and send you copies. I can. It will probably be Thursday before I have corrected copies to you because I'll be at the New Hampshire Municipal Association meeting tomorrow.
Can you also, it's in this particular budget, but can you send us the, you can black out the names, but in terms of the
Yep.
cost for benefits and stuff like that, and also the liability for the sick leave and annual leave?
Yes,
Okay.
certainly do that. The next slide I have here gives you some of that information, and I can send you the sheet that I took this from. This shows you what we're paying for the largest expense driver in this budget, that being health and dental insurance. Single person plan, the town of Lee pays 100% of a single employee's health insurance. These are monthly costs. There is a formula for two-person and family whereby you subtract the single premium and multiply by 25%. My recollection, and two-person and family plans pay that difference. The dental insurance premiums, you can see what those are there. That's through Delta Dental. The health insurance plan that we have is an Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield sort of custom plan that is run through Health Trust exclusively through municipalities. I will say I did some looking around to see what other increases were this year, and most of the Health Trust programs were in the same range. We were around 9%. The nearest competitor out of the Lakes region of New Hampshire that I've solicited other quotes from each year range from 18 to 23% this year. So there's not a whole lot of place to go. The health insurance benefit plan participants, we've got 10 single plans, 11 two-person, 5 family. We've got 2 family dental with no health insurance and 1 single dental with no health insurance. Those are the 3 employees who presently take the buyout option that we offer. The benefits also include short-term disability, long-term disability, and life insurance coverage. The life insurance coverage is based on, it's a formula based on what you're paid. We also have on the books, we don't have anyone using it right now, but if you work between 32 and 39 hours and are part-time, you can buy into the health insurance plan at a 50% of the cost rate.
These costs are the costs of the plan, not necessarily the cost we pay, right? So you just pay the single rate for everybody, and then the employee makes up the difference?
No, we pay the single rate in full for everybody, and
Okay.
you pay, I would say, on average, about 60 to 65% of the two-person and the family rate, based on the formula that's used.
Above the single person rate or total?
The spreadsheet that he's gonna give us will tell you exactly.
How much we pay? I was just curious. I was just wondering how the.
Yeah, and I budget for the full cost of the health insurance, because what's taken out of the employee's plan is not earmarked and tagged with the health insurance bill. That's money that goes into the general fund, and we pay the health insurance out of the general fund. It's there at the end of the year for you to use to offset taxes or do what you will with, but
And the FSA, how many people are taking advantage of that now?
Mm.
3
4?
or 4.
So that's,
It went down from like 6 or 7 to.
no, in terms of how much per person though.
Well, it'd be like $50 a person.
The FSA is what they choose to,
What they choose to
What they
This is
do.
just the admin cost.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, what's the admin cost per
Oh.
person?
That was the $200 or $250 that I showed you in the budget line
I
there.
think the admin cost is flat, so if you want to pick
Yeah.
it per person, it'd be like $50 a person.
So that's 50 divided by 12 is,
Yeah, it was $184.25 last year. I budgeted $200 this year for
It's
the
like
admin costs.
$12 a month or something. It's a low amount for the admin costs.
for one person?
No, for the plan.
$13.75 a month, that's what it is.
$13.75 a month, no matter how many people.
No, based on,
Yep,
is it no matter how many people?
we're budgeting, as I said, we paid $184.25 for the admin costs for the 4 people last year, and I budgeted $200 this year.
But Denise just said it went down from 6 or 7 down to 4, so,
Yeah,
all right, I was just wanting to know how much it was.
Yeah, I can double check, as I said, last year it was 184. I'm not sure when it went down.
It's not earth shattering, but it's just,
So why don't you let me take it off the FSA form tomorrow or Thursday. Moving on, our property casualty.
Andy,
I'm
can
sorry,
I
yeah.
ask you a couple of questions? First of all, the payment in lieu of vacation, that ends up in this budget instead of the department's.
It does.
I'm trying to remember back to when we did the police budget. Had he put another officer in there? He had,
Yeah,
okay.
he's been operating down 2 officers, and he's got, and he's budgeted, last year I think he budgeted for being down 1 officer, not 2.
Well, is the new officer's health insurance in here?
Yes,
Okay,
it is.
okay.
And that was one of the reasons I sent you the initial budget last week.
Yes.
And I sent you the new one this afternoon saying that I had made some updates to the health insurance costs. That was one of the things that was thrown in there.
Because it only went up like 25 grand, 30.
And
30 grand.
we don't know exactly whether it's gonna be a single or
You always
two-person.
budget at worst case? Yeah.
Try to, yes.
Because that would be about 1 family plan. Difference between this year and last year. It doesn't, I guess what I'm getting at is this year's doesn't seem high enough if you've got an 8% increase and a new person. The difference between 591 and 625 doesn't seem high enough.
I can certainly revisit it and make sure that we've got the.
You know what I'm saying, because if the family plan is like 40 grand.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what the spreadsheet will tell you too,
Yeah.
so you can, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure that number's big enough yet, as big as it is. Thank you.
Yep. Moving on to our property and casualty insurance. This is multi-peril building and contents coverage. It's our liability coverage, and it's our vehicle and mobile equipment coverage. That has gone up. I may be over a little bit in fiscal year '25. We've added some equipment. We kept some vehicles instead of trading them that have kept our insurance premiums increasing a little bit. We've also had some vehicle accidents that affected us a little bit. That's primarily on the police side of things.
So in terms of, did the policy go up or just we added stuff?
It's primarily that we've added stuff.
And in terms of, because we've got two new very expensive dump trucks coming, and they're way more expensive than the ones that we were getting rid of, so is that calculated in there too, or?
That is not calculated in here. I have not added them, and
Well, they're gonna come online soon, right?
they are. The 70,000 is over what the actual bill is going to be.
Oh, okay,
I think we're gonna be in good shape, but
okay.
until I have the VIN numbers and the specs on the trucks, I can't get numbers out of them.
They don't know that?
I don't believe we've got that, but.
Okay.
General assistance, this is a contracted amount that we pay. It's $5,000 flat. Seems to be working well for us. I will say that we are one of the few communities in the area that does not have an earmarked employee to operate as the general assistance and welfare officer. And most of those people that are employees are 35, 40, 45,000 and above for those positions. That said, rolling on to the next screen.
Can I ask you a question now?
Yes.
If you and Denise are getting two cell phones for $900, which is $450 a piece, this is $600. Can't we get the same deal for her?
I
Don't know.
go back through that. I'm trying to recollect. There's a specific reason. She is on the same contract, but it's a different phone. I will
Just a thought.
do a little digging and see if we can.
And she has a specific phone just for Lee?
Pardon?
She has a Lee paid phone?
She does.
Must have many phones.
She does, actually. She has a large basket of phones that she has nailed to the wall over her desk.
Really?
So flat basket so she can see them here.
Okay.
Ooh, interesting year for rent.
Yeah, dropping down to direct assistance, we have seen a very large increase in bona fide requests for rent assistance. We have spent, as I put there in the subheading, $19,000 since July 1st so far. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of let up. With a number of the other direct assistance funding, we have some other options if people need food, if people need heat, that type of thing. There are a number of agencies that will help you. There are not a number of agencies, there are one or two, but we don't have the resources to step up and help with rent. And it's a well-known process to both landlords and tenants that when you qualify, and
The town
You
just has
submit
to
the
pay
form.
your entire rent.
Depending on what your finances are and what your situation is, yeah, we may well have to pay your entire rent for several months.
You referred to a bona fide request. What constitutes a bona fide request?
There's a specific form and that you have to apply for. So if you meet the criteria, and there's also it's not called, it's the rental reimbursement form. It's a very simple form, as you said, that landlords are very well aware of, and tenants that have been through this before are aware of. And people come prepared with the appropriate documentation and the appropriate answers for the form, and it is difficult to avoid paying.
For that 19,000, can you give us, maybe for the next time that we get together, how many people that is?
Yeah.
No names, but just
Yep.
the number of individuals that is servicing.
The other lines are fairly static, and I would say, just for general public knowledge, the Lee Church Congregational plays a large part in helping with assistance in this community. The Congregational Church in Exeter and the Church in Durham do as well, and certainly above and beyond what you might expect. The total administrative budget as presented on those lines right now is $1,920,414. Just with regard to the budget, so the administrative budget is 1.9. Combine that with total payroll, which is a little over 2.6 million. And your employees and the administration thereof with insurance added on the side is 2/3 of your budget, or better. Right now, we have 28 full-time employees with 3 part-time. I'll also add, this is more of a warrant article item, but we have 2 employees that are looking to retire. As far as I know, they're still looking to retire. That would be the police chief and the chief mechanic from the DPW. I will be bringing you what you're likely to see for estimated payouts, accrued benefits for them as well. They're both longtime employees and.
Do you think we have enough in the account now?
Yes, I do. And I don't foresee any other longtime senior employees with a lot of accrued benefit leaving. But that is what I've got for the general overview of the budget. I'll get you the additional information that you requested, as well as I can give you copies of the actual health insurance bill. I can just knock out the names on the side, but you can see the cost breakdown by line for each benefit.
Okay. Is that the same as the spreadsheet you usually give us?
A little bit different. I take the raw information off of that and plug it into the
Well,
spreadsheet.
send it along. Yeah.
One of the strategies that I have looked into for a couple of years now with regard to health insurance, I know in the town I live in and a number of other towns, we've increased the deductible significantly on the plan, gone to a large deductible, and then you have the ability to offset the effect on the employees by making deposits into an account that can be used towards the deductible that rolls over each year. Lots of times that works out to a savings, depending on the health of your group. It doesn't always, but typically it gives you the ability to save. One of the difficulties I've run into is that because we're a fiscal year town, I've had a hard time getting brokers willing to give me anything that they would guarantee or stand by this time of year for next July in terms of rates and what they might be able to offer for potential offset. So I'm still looking, but we have great conversations right up until they ask me if I'm calendar year or not.
Great.
When I say no, the conversation goes south.
Clearly, there's a missing market out there, and someone should take advantage of that.
Any other specific items you can think of right now that you'd like to see for background information? Okay, as I said, I'll be shipping you completed total budgets minus the warrant articles, hopefully next week. I just want to run through Karen's numbers with her. I don't see any particular change in that planning and zoning budget, but it is.
Speaking of that next meeting, so we can't have the meeting on the 11th because of Veterans Day. So can we have the select board meeting at 6? Do you know approximately what's on the agenda? Can we get through it in an hour?
Yeah, I think
Yep.
so.
We talked about that this evening before we came over here.
Okay. And the last thing was, there's a non-public that's been requested, so I don't know if we have time to get it in before, so it would have to be afterwards.
Yeah, we think we can.
Are you thinking? Okay.
Yep.
All right, fair enough.
And that can bring a stopwatch and
Oh,
tell the party that's requested it how much time they have left.
Pressure.
I think we're done, Tom.
For whatever reason, this button has stopped working and shut. Came off.
Right.
Any questions from the audience?
I don't know.
Anyone?
Are there any questions from the audience?
No.
All right, I think we're good to go then. May I have a motion to adjourn? Made by George,
Second.
second by Scott. Any discussion? Motion carried. Have a good night. Back to you guys.
Pleasure. Is there anything else for the select board?
Can you keep that? We don't need it.
Okay. Motion to adjourn the select board meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi, I now want to meetings.
Thank you again. That's very nice of you.
Go Dodgers. My kids.
Maybe they'll see you like tonight.